Well, see, what's really cool about this conversation right now is that this is the very things that you and I talked about the first time we met.
Yeah.
That God created this savagery in us.
Yep.
Right. And he created this thing in us
Fired up.
to be a savage.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the first conversations you and I had was David was a savage.
Yeah. Oh,
right. You know, we're not live, are we?
We're probably recording.
Like that, right?
Are we recording?
Yeah, but
we're recording.
This is
okay,
how we just start recording.
Well, I just remember us talking about when David came before the
Yeah.
King Saul, and he was like, "Hey, I want to marry your daughter."
Yeah.
He was like, "Well, hey, go kill 200 Philistines."
Yeah.
And he comes back in there with their foreskins.
And he does more.
Right.
Like whatever the number Saul told him to do, he like doubled it.
Yeah. So it was just like threw that all down. He was like,
Yeah.
And we were talking about that's what God created in us is this savagery inside of us. And he doesn't want to take that away. He just wants us to direct it in a way that would be pleasing and honoring to God. Like in order to do an Ironman, you got to be somewhat a savage.
Yeah.
That conversation that we were having, I feel like, so we were talking earlier about when did we meet, and it was like 2020. And I feel like we were having that conversation though. That was a little later.
Yeah, that was a little bit later.
Whenever that was, like 21 or whatever, that conversation was like pivotal in Men's Alliance. It was like this light bulb moment.
Yes.
Of realizing like how many men are like us that are sitting in churches across the country on Sundays who feel like there must be something wrong with me because I want to rip people in half.
Right.
I must be broken.
Right.
Like, there's something messed up with me.
Right.
And then when you start to have those realizations about King David,
mm-hmm.
and you start to realize the way God designed men to be warriors. And even in Deuteronomy or Exodus, where it says, the Lord is a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like you start realizing like, what does that mean? Like, that's not just a verse. That's not just words.
Right.
Like God chose to call himself that, and he chose to call David a man after his heart. And so it's like, we start having like this aha moment that like, that's not something broken about me. Like that's how we were made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this book right now that Big Panda recommended, and it's talking about how at no point, there's nowhere in the Bible, and this was like a fascinating thought. This book says there's nowhere in the Bible does man's aggression a bad thing.
Right.
And I'm like, that's true. That's a good point, right? At no point is it the result of the fall, is what the book is saying. Like our aggression is not a result of the fall. That's not part of our sin nature.
Right.
That is part of our design.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man.
It's part of being made in God's image.
That's actually correct.
Yeah.
Right. So now, as a result of the fall, we can use it in incorrect ways.
Mm-hmm.
But just that conversation that we had and just kind of like flipping that light on in Men's Alliance. And it's one of our early podcasts. Like it's probably like, I don't know, podcast like 15 or something is like being savage for God, I think is the title of it.
Yeah,
right?
you tell a good story in there.
Yeah.
You remember that guy? I think his name was Alex Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You remember him?
I do.
I remember having a conversation with him in the church lobby about this. And this was like that big light bulb moment. And I was inviting him to Men's Alliance. And he was saying something like, man, I just don't even know if God could use me because I'm a savage.
Right.
That was his words. That's what he looked at me and said. And I said, man, I was like, God doesn't want you to stop being a savage. He just wants you to be a savage for him.
Mhm.
And I think like when I said that, we both just looked at each other.
Are we going to be best friends?
And then I was like, that's a podcast.
Yeah.
Like we got to start getting this out to men.
Yeah.
We got to get this message out.
So at the same time, you were having those conversations with Alex. I'm having those conversations with Alex. And of course, we had just opened up a recovery home. So he's one of the first two guys to come into the home.
Yeah.
And he and I were sitting down having a conversation. And this is where it triggered me. And we didn't even know. I mean, we're just talking about this now.
Yeah.
And so this is not planned or anything. It's just a conversation. And I was looking at him and I was talking to him and he was like, look, Joel, if I decide to bolt, he was like, I'm gone. He's like, if I make up my mind that I'm going to relapse, he's like, I'm gone. And he looked at me and he said, and when I go, I'm a savage. And I remember saying to him, I was like, man, God doesn't want to take that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants you to redirect it. And you and I had no idea.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Right?
We were having the same conversations with the same guy at the exact same time.
Right. And he was just like, I'm a savage. And I was like, man, he doesn't want that to go away.
Yeah.
I think that when Christian men feel like God wants to take that away, that makes us want to bolt.
Right.
Right. Because that'll freak us out. We're like, I don't think this is for me. And that's when I think guys walk out on the church.
Right.
The big C church is when they're just like, God's going to try to change me into something I don't want to be. God's going to try to make me into a choir boy, and that ain't happening.
Right.
And I think when ministries like ours help guys see, he put that in you.
Right.
He's not going to try to take that out. He put that there, you know. Man, that's what men's ministry in this country needs.
Right. I remember I went to, it was a men's retreat somewhere, and they had all these guys that were coming out to speak, you know, to the men and just get us fired up. And I was going to go see the main speaker, right? You know, but they gave each guy that was going to have a little break off, they gave him like a 1-minute commercial for his class. And I was sitting there and I was like, well, I'm going to listen to this guy. You know, he's the main speaker. I'm going to stay in here. And this guy gets up and says, why would a man crawl through 100 yards of manure to shoot a turkey? Come to my class and find out. And I was like so mesmerized by like, why would we crawl through 100 yards of manure to shoot a turkey? Why would we do that? Why do we do that? And I got into the class and it was basically what we're talking about. We want to be challenged. We're savages. We want to be challenged. The church needs to challenge us. And he just talked about just being challenged as men, you know, to like really go after God. But at the same time, we're still men and we still like things to challenge us. And so I thought
that to me, that kind of the word you just said a bunch of times right then, challenge.
Yeah.
And that to me is one of the most important words in Men's Alliance and in how to do Christian men's ministry right. It's all about challenge. And like I first got like awakened to this truth from David Morrow's book, Why Men Hate Going to Church. And in that book, he, I say reads because I listened to the audiobook of it. He reads an ad, a recruiting ad, a U.S. Army recruiting ad in the book. He's like, listen to this. And it's just, do you have what it takes? Can you make it through this? We're gonna challenge you in this and in this, and join and see if you can make it. Right? Like that's the whole ad. And he was like, when you read that, how do you feel? And like, of course, like the answer is like
fired up,
pumped, right? Like, let's go. And then he reads a description of like a church's men's ministry description, like off their website, out of their bulletin. And it's like, how does this make you feel?
Interesting.
like going home and taking a nap. And just the whole dynamic of, if you want to reach men, you challenge them.
Yep.
And the military's figured this out. The motorcycle clubs have figured this out. And sports have figured this out. And then you're like, why aren't churches doing this?
Yeah.
Why aren't, the whole key is challenge. So I remember one time going through our website, like our old website, going through the website and like putting the word challenge in it.
Yeah.
Like as many places as I could, right? Yeah. I'm like, challenge physically, challenge spiritually.
Right.
Like that's what works for me.
I think that's why Carry the Fire is taken off. It's because I think guys are having a hard time finding challenges spiritually. And so if that's you, go to the website and register for Carry the Fire. All it takes is all you got.
I think most men, unless you've been in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of guys that were. Unless you've been in the Marine Corps or done an Ironman, Carry the Fire will probably be the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
Like most guys say that at the end.
It'll be the hardest thing you've done as a civilian.
It'll be the hardest thing you've done in a couple decades. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is that. Okay.
There could be a hospital bill at the end of it.
All right. I want to go back and start at this part of your story because I love this. But share the story about you were a PE teacher.
Right.
And that whole challenge that led you to register and train for an Ironman triathlon. Start us off there. You're teaching PE. What happened?
Right. So I was teaching health and PE at the Chesterfield County Juvenile Detention Home. And so just doing a class on goal setting. And so I had created this lesson on goal setting. Everybody needs a goal and just kind of rah, rah, rah. And I had finished doing the lesson. And then I was like, I'm teaching in a detention home. So a lot of the kids had a lot of challenges. And so I just, I was just like, well, what did y'all think? How do y'all feel? Long story short, the kid raises his hand in the back and he was like, hey, Mr. Hughes, I love you, man. You're my dog. You're my boy. But it's like, I'm going to be honest with you, man. This is not for me. And I was like, why is it not for you? And he said it in some other colorful language. He was just like, this is not for me. And I was like, why is it not for you? And he's like, look, man, I don't know who my dad is. Never met my dad. My mom is an addict. He was like, I'm doing whatever I got to do for my day to day just to survive. And he was just like, so he's like, you've grown up, middle class, somewhat privileged. He's like, you just don't know the challenges that I'm facing. And he's just like, I can't do this. And I was like, well, I think that you're making up excuses. I was like, I think you need to challenge yourself. You can use the circumstances around you to say, oh, this is the reason why I'm failing, or I'm going to use the circumstances around me to achieve. And I'm going to overcome, adapt, whatever I got to do, but do it legally. And I said, because you're not helping yourself or your family by being in here. And so he challenged me at that point. He was like, well, if I got to write a goal down, why don't you write a goal down? And, you're the teacher. And so I'm sitting here thinking, what do you guys want me to do? And by now, the class is like into the conversation. And so this kid raises his hand. He's like, I got a goal for you, Coach Hughes. I know you couldn't do it. And I was just like, all right, what is it? And he's just like, man, I want you to be a Navy SEAL. And I was like, you're right. I said, you just missed the first part of the lesson, which was make the goal realistic, right? I said, I'm 40. I was like, so I'm not quitting my job. I got 2 kids. I'm not going to quit my job and go to the Navy.
It's been a great story, though.
Right. It would have been a great story, but long story short, then now the kid raises his hand and says, hey, Mr. Hughes, you got to do something, physical because you're our PE teacher. And so I threw out marathon. I was like, hey, how about I do a marathon? And all the kids are like, how far is that? And I was like, it's 26.2 miles. And they're like, oh, no, that's too easy for you. I was like, are y'all crazy? I was like, look at me. I'm a linebacker. right? You know, I'm 200 pounds. I was like, that's not easy. And they're like, no, that's too easy. And so I sarcastically said in the classroom, well, what do y'all want me to do? An Ironman? You know, sarcastic.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what is that? And probably the worst mistake I've ever made as a teacher was I YouTubed Ironman. And I put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And played a video.
Oh, yeah.
And what you just said about putting challenge on your website, Ironman does the same thing. The guy comes on and says, you know, he's got that deep voice. I have a high-pitched voice, so I can't do it right. But the guy was like, swim 2.4 miles, bike 112, run 26.2.
Brag
140.6 miles
for the rest of your life,
and brag the rest of your life.
I know that video.
You know, and they're showing videos of people laying in ditches, but also people achieving, crossing the finish line, crawling,
hobbling, falling over,
right,
organ failure.
That's right. And so at the end of the video, I was literally just hiding behind the computer screen, because I knew they were going to be like, you can't do that. And so sure enough, they were like, there's no way. And I was just like, all right, I'll do it. I was like, but you've got to graduate from high school. And so, so that's how the whole thing got started. It was a challenge.
And you were 40.
And I was 40 when I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
How old are you now?
56.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was 40 years old when I took the challenge. And so what the agreement was that I was going to do Ironman Hawaii. That was the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, nobody does this.
Yeah.
Like, this will be an easy thing to do as far as sign up. And I had no idea. You know, I got on there and I was like, well, surely I can just go sign up for the Ironman World Championship. And I found out very quickly, oh, no, sir. No, sir. There's a process.
There's a lottery. People have been trying to get into that
to
for
do the
years.
Hawaii one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got in.
Mm.
I got in eventually through the lottery. So there's 3 ways. You go to another Ironman sanctioned race and you win your age division.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, well, how hard is that? And there's not too many 40-year-olds doing that. And so I quickly learned when I went to go sign up for races, I was like, oh my gosh, the biggest age division is 40 to 44 because it's midlife crisis.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Right? So there's 600 dudes signing up.
Themselves. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm never going to win my age division.
Yeah.
So then they had I guess what they raise money, they would help raise, they would give 3 tickets away. And I was like, well, nobody's going to pay for this. And of course, people were paying their way in $60,000.
Holy smokes.
Right. So some people that have really, they're not going to wait for the lottery.
Yeah.
So then I put my name in the lottery and I didn't get in. And it's a worldwide lottery at that time. And so I didn't get in. And the kids are like, well, you got to do something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's think about goal setting. Like, you know, let's work our way up. I'll do a half this upcoming summer. So that was 2009. I did a half and I didn't get in. And then in 2010, the kids were like, dude, man, I can't keep getting arrested and coming in here to find out whether or not you've done the Ironman. So, you know, you got to do something. And I was like, I'll go do Louisville. So every year I kept putting my name in the lottery, not getting in. Yeah. But I went to Louisville in 2010 and I did that one. And then in 2011, I did it again because the kids that were there in 2010 were like, oh, that's great. But the 2011 kids were like, well, you got to do one for us.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just grew from there. And then in 2012, I was like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'll just keep putting my name in the lottery until I get in. And so in 2013, I got in through the lottery.
Man. All the lotteries not to win.
Right. Right.
So a cool part of our story is we both were doing the same race in Louisville.
What?
Together in 2011.
Correct.
And
That's wild.
We didn't know each other, but we were both there doing it.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
I love that.
So what was really cool for me was when I did the race in 2010, So it's been 2009, 2010. The kid that originally challenged me had been sent upstate, which is like juvenile prison. He had been released, arrested back in Chesterfield Detention Home the week before I went to Louisville in 2010. And so he was like, have you done it yet? And I was just like, no, but I'm going this week. And I was like, will you be here next? He was like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. And I was like, okay. And so I went in 2010, and that year was brutal. It was 105 heat index. And so I came back with the medal, and I walked right up to him, and I was kind of teasing him. I was swinging the medal just enough just to hit him right in the head, and he was just like, "Well, I cannot believe you did this." And I said, "Well, you've got to graduate from high school." So fast forward a year later, I get a letter from him at the detention home. And he was like, Mr. Hughes, I went back upstate. He's like, and I just want you to know that every day while I was here, I kept telling myself, man, I promised him that I would graduate from high school. He's like, so while I was here, he's like, I got my GED. Just wanted you to know. Man. You held up to your end of the bargain. I held up to mine. So he ended up graduating from high school.
That's incredible.
And so that was kind of like that's where Tri-Hope was kind of somewhat born, because Tri-Hope is TRI. And so I was doing triathlons. And so I was just like, okay, well, if we could take that, and it was birthed there at the detention on this idea of coaching people spiritually, mentally, and physically.
Right.
Yeah.
If we can get you to start changing the way that you think and start thinking with spiritual principles, then mentally you'll start making better decisions. And then physically you will start moving in a different direction.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it was all birthed, just from that challenge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, men, is your money reflecting how God wants to use you? Do you have a plan for your money? Are you optimizing your situation on taxes and investments? I want to tell you guys about Tom Doc Love. He's over at the Main Street Group, and he will help sharpen you around money. Now, I personally use Doc and the Main Street Group for my investments. He handles mine. I can tell you from experience, he is phenomenal. I highly recommend him. His retirement investments since July 2023 are up 64% as of today, September 2025, and that includes fees and costs. And the S&P 500 is up only 48% during that same period. So he is got a phenomenal track record at the Main Street Group. The average client pays less than 1% per year, which also includes tax and financial planning fees. By the way, past performance does not guarantee future results. Make sure you mention Men's Alliance when you reach out, and they will invest the first year of fees into Men's Alliance 501c3 nonprofit. That's right. Part of their mission to invest in bringing men closer to Christ, with over 200,000 raised for Men's Alliance so far. So Doc, Nuke, Sherpa, and Rev all are tribesmen at the Main Street Group. They are fee-only fiduciaries, and Tom Doc is the owner. He's a certified financial planner, a Dave Ramsey Smart Vestor Pro. They use Charles Schwab to manage their client assets, and their office is in Innsbruck, Virginia, but they can serve clients throughout the world. With Tom, you get a guy who has been recognized as the #2 financial advisor by the Richmond Times-Dispatch, #1 in Style Weekly, and a top 40 under 40 advisor in the country in 2019. He's also been recognized by the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, and Forbes magazine. Dave Ramsey and Charles Schwab are separate entities, of course, from the Main Street Group. So check them out. If you're looking for any sort of financial advice, planning, investments, you can't beat the Main Street Group. Call Doc and tell him you're with Men's Alliance. All right, so tell us about going to Try Hope.
Right.
How did you start this? Tell everybody what it is.
Right. So kind of along the line. So when I was in Hawaii I finally got into Hawaii.
Yeah.
So now the kids were like, there's a whole new crop of kids, but they've all now heard the stories. And so I get into Hawaii and I train for 6 months, go to Hawaii, and I do the race in Hawaii. And
at this point, this is your third?
This is my third.
Your third full 140.6.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get done with the race, and I want you to know I felt great. I mean, I just crossed the finish line of the Ironman World Championship. I'm pumped. I'm seeing my family. We're all doing great. And then all of a sudden, I literally my wife captured the moment on camera. I just lean up against this post and I'm like, I don't feel so hot. I mean, it was like, I don't feel so hot. And so I was like, let's get the kids away from me. So we went into the hotel room. I sat down and went to get the kids away. And I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And then all of a sudden I hear commotion, right? And it's like, somebody needs to get a doctor. Somebody needs to get a doctor. This guy's passed out. And I remember thinking, well, at least I'm not that bad, right? But they were talking about me.
No.
I was the one that was
passed out.
And so, so they take me to the medical tent and the doctors start going over me. They're like, hey, let's get you on the scales because they weigh you at the beginning and they weigh you at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I weighed 180 at the beginning. I weighed 179 at the end. Mm-hmm. So the doctors were like totally baffled. And I know this is a long story, but there's a really good point to it. And they were baffled. They took my blood. They're like, Mr. Hughes, you hit all your marks. You didn't lose any weight. Mm-hmm. And while I was there, all I can tell y'all is that I went mute. I could not speak. I was trying to speak to the doctor. I was trying to speak to my wife. And I just remember laying there and I was looking at them and I was throwing my hands up and I was giving them sign like, I can't talk. And the doctors were like, all right, man, let's send you to the hospital. So they throw me in the back of an ambulance and we're going to the hospital. Now, here's where the story really perks up. So I'm in the back of the ambulance and I'm thinking, okay, God, this isn't funny. Like, I've been chasing this for 5 years. And I've said I was going to accomplish this goal and try to show these kids back at the detention home that anything is possible, specifically through Christ, who strengthens us. And I'm in the back of an ambulance going to the hospital. Please tell me I'm not going to die. And I just want y'all to know that God just spoke to me in that moment in such a special way. I literally could hear him speaking to me. And he said, Joel, you're not going to die. But I have a few questions for you. Have you given everything you've got to this race? And I was like, God, obviously I'm in the back of an ambulance. I've given everything I got to the point I feel like I'm dying. And he was just like, well, you're not going to die. Have you given spiritually, mentally, physically, everything? And I was like, yes. Financially, yes. I've given up lots of times with my kids because I had young kids then. And I was like, God, I've done it all for the last 5 years, chasing this. And then God said to me, why can't I get that kind of effort from you? And I was like, what do you want from me? And he was just like, I want you to give this kind of effort, but I'm going to move you out of teaching into ministry. And so got to the hospital. I could talk. I could speak. Everything was fine. I went home. Didn't speak about this for a couple of weeks. And came back home, went back to teaching. And it was in the back of my head the whole time. Like, wow, okay, ministry, what does that look like? And so
you were a full-time teacher.
And I was a full-time teacher
and coach
in a juvenile detention home.
And so, honestly, I will tell you guys, I started like, okay, well, what would this ministry look like? And that's where it was kind of like, try hope. You've tried everything else. Why don't you try hope? And the whole spiritual, mental, and physical. And it was really birthed in the gym at the Chesterfield County Juvenile Detention Home. I started talking about it. But if in complete transparency, I ran from it for the next 5 years. I just ran from it. I was like, well, okay, God, all right, that's cool. I'll do it. But how do I pay bills? How do we, don't worry about it. Just, I need you to pack up your tent and go. I'll take care of all of that. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll stay right here, and I'll stay here until I have a full plan. And it just never happened. So 2017, spring break, I really hit kind of rock bottom. I had been running from God long enough, and I just went through a season where just didn't feel right physically, spiritually, mentally. I just went through a dark place, depression, anxiety. I mean, I just went to a dark place, and it was because I was running, and I wasn't doing what God was asking me to do. And so because of my disobedience, I ran, and I was miserable as an individual. And so I ended up resigning in 2017, my position, because my wife one day said, dude, you've been running long enough. Well, make it work, but you got to stop running. And so 2017, I resigned, went back to school, got some schooling, got a master's degree in counseling. And then somewhere around 2018, middle of 2018, end of 2018, my wife had run for circuit court clerk. She had become friends with the sheriff. He had just started HARP, helping addicts recover progressively. And he inquired one day to Wendy, like, what is Joel doing? She was like, he's trying to get this thing called Try Hope up and running, but he's having a hard time. They, juvenile detention homes really don't let Christian organizations in. And he was like, well, just bring it over here to the jail. And so I went to the jail probably December of 2018. And he was like, man, just come here and start doing your life coaching here. And that's where it was birthed, right there. I mean, went in there, spoke to the men and the women at the Chesterfield County Jail. And the next week I was doing Bible study classes.
Man. Sheriff Leonard is incredible.
Yeah.
So we've got a very similar story with him, right?
Right.
So what year do you think that was? What year did we have?
21, probably. 2020 or 21. It was maybe 22.
Crazy.
Yeah.
21 or 22. We had him on the podcast. And at the end of the podcast, he said the exact same thing. He goes, why don't you guys bring this in the jail?
Yeah, you could do this in the jail if you
want. And we were like, really? Like
what?
Like starting a tribe in the jail? And he was like, yeah. What do you need from me? How can I help? And I was like a little bit sarcastic. I was like, can we bring a tractor tire in there?
Yeah.
Flip that? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What else you want to bring?
So you can't have a fire.
So
that was it. Yeah.
he brought you and Try Hope into the Chesterfield County Jail.
Correct.
And he brought Men's Alliance into the Chesterfield County Jail.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing.
That man is a barbarian ambassador.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean.
He doesn't care.
Right. And
he's an elected official.
Yeah.
Correct.
He's like, they elected me.
They
elected me. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. If they don't like it, they can not elect me in the next term.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Like, this is the great thing about his leadership is that he saw a problem.
Yeah.
Instead of just ignoring it. Okay, well, we have a problem here. Let's think about how can we fix this? Because we can't keep doing this. Mm-hmm. And so he saw a problem and he was just like, okay, let's go. I want to group up running. I mean, he told his staff, I want something up running tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, Harp, came to be. And then one of the best things about his leadership is that he's open-minded to letting people come in and help. And it just so happened that, I was God's timing is perfect. Yeah. But, we are just starting Tri-Hope, and there's like, hey, let's go. Bring that in here. And we just started doing Bible studies.
Yeah.
We weren't doing recovery houses or anything. We were just doing a Bible study. And then COVID hits, shuts everything down. But then during that time, during that season, chapel, I had connected with the chapel and Pastor Brandon and his leadership and Joel Gregory and Jason. And they were like, dude, man, we love what you're doing. How can we assist? And I was just like, well, look, guys, man, I'm not a pastor. So I'm trying to preach on Sundays in the jail. I was like, you guys are already live streaming now because of COVID. So what if when I go back into the jail, what if I just, why don't we just start streaming the chapel into the jail? And so they were like, love it. So COVID ends. I go back in the jail. I'll never forget this. The first Sunday I walked in, I was like, hey, guys, we're going to do a little bit different this year. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, COVID's going to give us a chance to reset. I was like, but this is what I want to do. I want to live stream the chapel into here. And the guys were like, oh, no. Hughes, we like you speaking and everything. I was like, yeah, why don't we give Pastor Brandon a shot? Let's just check it out.
Yeah, he might be okay.
He might be all right. It's just be open-minded, guys.
You guys might like him.
And so as soon as Pastor Brandon finished the service, they were like, yeah, man, we like him a whole lot better. Let's just roll with this from now on. And I was like, yeah, it's so good, right? And so we just started streaming chapel, into the jail. And the next thing you know, it just grows, right? Next thing you know, it's like, hey, let's have a Tri-Hope group at the chapel.
Yeah.
And so we started doing Tri-Hope at the chapel after the services. And we had 4 people show up the first time. Now we're running 50, 60 people every weekend, And I got to tell y'all, I was so grateful that Men's Alliance came into the jail. Huge. Because, when you're in ministry, you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here thinking, well, man, I'm a former health and PE teacher. I can start doing workouts with the guys in the jail. I was like, no way. I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And this thing is growing the way it needs to grow for Tri-Hope. And then Men's Alliance came in.
Yeah,
I remember coming into a unit one time and I saw sandbags, and it had Men's Alliance on it. And I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Get this, man. This is such a cool story of God's timing. And you're saying you can't do everything, even if you've got all these great ideas and great opportunities. You got sheriffs inviting you in places. It doesn't mean you can do it all. So that day that we had the podcast with Sheriff Leonard, and it was in the morning. I think it was a 9 a.m. podcast or something. And at the end, he's like, why don't you guys bring this into jail? And I'm excited because I'm like, man, that's huge and that's cool. But I'm also like, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
Who's going to, right? That's a big old job.
Yeah.
And that day, same day, right after lunch, I got a call from Pedals. It was Pedals. And he's been on a podcast before. If you go back and you listen to our podcast about firefighters in Men's Alliance, he's on our firefighters podcast. He's also on our some others I think we did with the Hopewell police chief. But anyway, right. Pedals called me that day right after lunch, and he goes, hey, I'm down here in Zulu tribe, and Knuckles, another guy that's been on our podcast, he was like, we were all just talking, and we got a lot of guys down here in Men's Alliance who have been in jail. And they're all talking to me about, hey, can we start a tribe? Can we go back into jail? Because we all still got buddies in jail. Can we go back into jail and start a tribe? Isn't that the craziest thing?
Yes.
Same day. I was like, brother, you are not going to believe the conversation I just had this morning.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with the sheriff, and he invited us in to start. And he was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
I was like, "There you go, man."
Right.
And then just through Men's Alliance, this was like Alpha Tribe a long time ago. I don't know. Do you know Sneaky?
I know Sneaky.
So I had a coffee with Sneaky years before any of this. And I remember him telling me that he just had a passion for prison ministries. And he used to do a prison ministry at a different place he used to live. And he always wanted to get back into it. So like, I kind of had that filed away back in my mind. And so that day after Pedals called and the sheriff, I called Sneaky and I was like, here's an opportunity. You still want to get back into some jail ministry? And he was like, I'm on it. And it was like, I never did any work. Right. So it was like the sheriff gave me an opportunity and I turned and I handed it to these guys in MA who were passionate about that. And then they were able to go in and they've been doing it every Thursday since.
Right.
Like,
and now
it's been like 4 years at least.
Right. Yeah. And now you have a women's alliance in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a women's alliance in there. Shannon Clark comes in there with a team. And now the women's alliance group is growing.
Yeah.
In the jail. And so, I mean, they got a women's alliance group that goes and picks up people at another recovery organization and brings them to the chapel downtown campus. So, I mean, the thing is growing. And I think that's what the really cool part is, that when God is in something.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah. You're right. It's like
he's in it. It can't fail.
I know you and I, we've probably got a ton of examples we could think of like stuff we've tried that didn't go like that.
Right.
Right. Like you're just like constantly frustrated and a million roadblocks and nothing you do seems to work. And I don't know, this is something I still am trying to figure out and wrestle with, is like that line between like, am I supposed to like keep persevering here? Am I supposed to keep overcoming obstacles? And, or is God trying to tell me something? Right. Am I not supposed to be going down this path? Because sometimes I've pivoted to a different thing and it was like this, like the doors just fly open.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I think God is telling me go in this direction. So, that's what makes this so amazing, is I've tried to do stuff before and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get these opportunities and you see God just bring everything together and connect it. And by the way, we now have a tribe in the juvenile center.
I was going to say how many,
and that's been been story after story. And I haven't ever gone to that one. I've gone to the redemption tribe in the jail several times. I've never gone to the juvenile one, but I just hear the stories from our leaders.
Right.
And it's just life-changing, right? These young kids that are getting out, and as a result of the mentors and the tribe that these kids are connected in, they get out and it changes the trajectory of their life.
Right.
That's amazing.
Men, are you in the market to buy, build, or refinance a home? If so, you got to contact Chris Norwood, call sign Coop. He's with Town Bank Mortgage, and he's been doing this for over 22 years. He's licensed in 16 states, and he can absolutely help you get the house that you need to get. Contact Coop at Town Bank Mortgage. You can contact Coop at 804-439-3206. That's 804-439-3206.
If y'all don't mind, I can share your story about that.
Please.
So you got the Men's Alliance group that goes into the jail. Tri-Hope is at the jail. So Machine, Gus, was at the jail.
And we're gonna do a podcast with him.
Yeah. So Gus is at the jail
for his story.
So he's coming to Tri-Hope stuff. He's going to Men's Alliance stuff. And he gets out. So apparently he joins up with whoever's going into the juvenile detention home.
Yeah, Tetra tribe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're going in, and Gus meets a young man there, and that young man gets released. And Gus and another one of the tribe guys go to Virginia Beach, where this young man has now gotten into a program, and they baptized him. And so Gus is sending me videos of, like, look what God's doing. You know, I met you at the jail. I met Men's Alliance at the jail. I've been released. I'm now going into the juvenile detention home. And now I'm baptizing this kid that we met at the juvenile detention home. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, man. That's really great. I love that. It's awesome. You know, and encouraging him to keep on with that. Gus had started a tribe at our recovery house. And so that was another blessing.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do the tribe. And I've been waiting for years for somebody to come in and say, well, I'll start the tribe at the house.
Yeah.
And so now we have a tribe at the house. So anyway, I get a call one night from Machine Gus, and he says, Hughes, you know that kid that I was mentoring? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, he's homeless. He's in Franklin County. And he just called me and said, man, I need help. And I was like, Franklin County. I was like, and for some reason, I didn't think about it. But my wife and I, 3 months ago, we just bought a little condo on Smith Mountain Lake, and it's in Franklin County. Hmm. And I had gone just to kind of explore. We had just bought the place. I had gone down and, you know, found a Walmart. I found a Lowe's, right? I was just kind of looking around. And I was like, he's in where? And he was like, he's in Franklin County. I was like, where at? He's like, oh, he's at the Walmart. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was just there 3 weeks ago. I said, I know exactly where he's at. And I said, all right, well, there's some things that we need to talk about and some hoops that we need to jump through. I was like, but tell him just to sit right there and I'll go get him. And so me and Mr. D drove to Franklin County and picked up this kid that, you know, was homeless and 18 years old, and we brought him to the recovery house.
Oh, man.
Right? So all of that, right? God's in all of that.
Right.
I mean, you can't make that up.
I hadn't heard that.
You can't make that story up. And of course, you know, he stayed with us for a while, and then he's moved on, and he didn't do anything wrong. He's being successful. But there was a season where he had to come and live with Tri-Hope.
Man, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And
you just went and got him.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mr. D just jumped in the van, and we were like, all right, let's go get this guy. And so we went and picked him up and brought him to the house. And Gus started continuing to minister to him. Ramsey was ministering to him. And they just kind of wrapped their arms around him. And it all had to do with all of us just saying yes to what God wanted us to do.
Yeah.
You know, and Men's Alliance having a tribe in the jail, and then Gus getting involved with a tribe that's in the juvenile detention home.
Yeah.
To where there's Tri-Hope where that kid could land and get his feet underneath him before he makes his next best step.
Yeah, you know something's God's will when your fingerprints aren't on any of the doorknobs. You know? It's like,
that's good.
He opens them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Did you just make that up?
I heard somebody say it.
Oh man, that was.
I was about to say that was really good, man.
That was the first one.
Straight stealing that. Stealing
yeah,
that.
That's, you know, what can I say?
That's good.
But don't ask me if I made it. Just let it ride, okay?
I was like, man, this is.
Don't ever ask the sources.
Drop the bomb.
Yeah, don't.
That's good.
But it always takes, and you know, like Sheriff Leonard, like he's a trail. If he ever gets a call sign, it's got to be Trailblazer, because he's just. Good. It takes trailblazers to somebody to do it first, to carve out a path. I mean, Goose is a trailblazer. You're a trailblazer. It takes somebody to be like with a machete to chop down the way, and then be like, hey, make it a path for somebody else to come behind you, you know, and be like, oh, I can do this because you've done it before me. And I think that's why God puts trailblazers like that in the positions they're in, because he knows that he can use them, you know.
Right.
I think one of the things that I would just say most people in this area, most people in Midlothian that go to the chapel, especially, you know, like the thing they know about you, like for those that don't really know you personally, like you're the guy who has that area in the section of church where all the people sit who just got out of jail.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's you. Like that's like
the front left. It's the front left.
Everybody that goes to the chapel Midlothian knows that front left corner is a bunch of men and women that are fresh out of jail, and they're there because of you. Right. And it's like your ministry is like overlapping the chapel's ministry right there, that corner every Sunday morning.
Right.
And you guys all have lunch, right?
Yeah. So what we do is after the 11:15 service, we meet.
Yeah.
And then we discuss the sermon, you know, and, you know, again, Pastor Brandon and whoever's speaking, but Pastor Brandon's 95% of the time speaking, and just his sermons. And we just take that to the classroom. It's like, okay, how does this align with, you know, our recovery? And most of the time, we're not even talking about drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer not to. You know, it's like Pastor Brandon says, if you just sit in there stewing in depression all the time, well, you're going to be depressed. And so we don't talk about drugs and alcohol so much as we talk about the solution.
Yeah.
Right? And God is the solution. Jesus Christ, a relationship with Jesus is a solution. And so we meet. We don't go to lunch because I run a nonprofit and I'd be broke. And so, you know, so we meet and we do that. And but yeah, back to the front section. I think what's really cool about that little space is that there are people there that are experiencing freedom, which I think everybody in, you know, hopefully are experiencing freedom, spiritual freedom, but they're also experiencing freedom from being in jail.
Physical freedom.
Yeah. And so that's why I feel like that little spot is got a little different.
I love that.
It's got a little bit of a different hype to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and, but, you know, for the chapel to open up their arms, what makes it successful? Obviously God, you know, first and foremost. But what makes it so successful is the chapel in the body of Christ with open arms.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to judge you. I mean, some of our people come in and, I mean, some of our guys are tatted up all over the place. And, you know, you might get judged differently in some places.
Yeah, that corner looks a little different.
Yeah.
From
And
the rest of the church.
So, but it's open arms.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a testimony to leadership.
Yeah.
And just how
another example of trailblazers. You know,
Right.
I think when you
Pastor Brandon.
I think what you're describing too is kind of like the, you know, the synergistic kind of like combined results when you get a guy with a vision and a nonprofit partnering with a church, right? When a church partners with a guy like you, right? Because churches can't do everything. Pastors can't do everything.
right.
And, you know, it takes people in the church, just average dudes in the church that have a passion for something, whatever it is. Yours was prison ministry, right? And so you're all in on that. And then when a church recognizes that and is like, hey, how can we help? What can we do to help? Then you get what's been going on, like between Tri-Hope and the chapel, you know,
Right.
and then also kind of combining that with the HARP program and the sheriff,
Yes.
right? It's like you got these
Well, they
three
brought them
three
in.
entities
Right.
that are all teamed up for the kingdom. All right, so I want to go back to the beginning. At the beginning of the story, you were health and PE teacher
Right.
in a juvenile detention center. How did you get into that in the first place? What made you originally want to take a job in a juvenile detention center?
Well, I can't say that I actually wanted to take the job, right? So, health and PE teacher, student teaching my last year at VCU, and a job came open at Monacan High School. And so a teacher left like in November. And so I was in good standing at VCU at that time, really good standing with them as far as education and where I was at. And so my professor came to me and was just like, hey man, there's a job. They're looking for a teacher. You don't have to finish your student teaching, man. Just take it. And so I took it. But what happened is that was the year that Chesterfield County closed down doing health and PE for 8th grade. And so 8th grade teachers that had been in the county teaching got to come and bump out the newest hires. So I was the last one hired, the first one to go. And so a teacher that was, had been teaching and I get it, that's fair. Teacher that had been teaching in Chesterfield for 20 years came and bumped me out of my position. So I started looking for a job. And a person one day came down the hallway at Monica and was like, hey, did you see the health and PE position at the detention home? And I was like, no. And so I looked it up, I put in for it, and I interviewed, and I knew it was the Spirit of God. This is where I want you.
Cool.
And so that's how I landed at the detention home. It was 1998. I landed in the detention home, and I was just like, of all the places you could put me, you put me where, these kids are the most troubled.
Yeah.
And yes, some of them were punks.
Yeah.
They were, off the chain.
Right.
Yeah.
And could I share a real quick story?
Please do. Yeah.
So the first week I was there, I met a guy there. His name was David Stump. And I want y'all to know that this kid was off the chain crazy. And I hadn't been there but maybe a couple weeks, and God started laying it on my heart, man, hey, I need you to reach out to this kid. And I was like, God, man, he's certifiable. He's crazy. And God was like, I know he's crazy, but I want you to reach out to him. I was like, no, God, I'm just getting started here. I don't need to make any waves. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I didn't reach out to him. A year later, another kid comes through the building. His name was Bruce. And God says, hey, man, I need you to reach out to this kid. And I was like, all right, he's crazy, but I'm going to reach out to him. So I reached out to him. He ends up getting 37 years, right? 30 suspended. So he's going to do 7 years of adult time. And he was 16 years old.
Ooh.
And so he ends up going to, and I stay in contact with him in prison. And he gets out. My wife and I help him. He's now married. He's got 3 beautiful kids. Did 8 years in the Army. Went to Afghanistan.
Wow.
I mean, and it was like God was showing me what faith-based life coaching could look like.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't do it with David, but I did it with Bruce, and Bruce is kind of successful. And so for over the next 18 years, I was just on the down low, doing Try Hope, not knowing it was Try Hope, but I was just kind of mentoring kids here and there and everywhere. And because of God, seeing some successes. And so when 2017 came and I resigned and I started Try Hope, I was like, man, I always referred to David Stump as the guy that got away, the kid that got away, because I just wasn't strong in my faith and I didn't step out and do it. And I would see him every now and then in the gotcha paper. You remember we used to have the gotcha paper in the Observer, and I would see his picture and I would say, man, that's the kid that got away. That's the kid that got away. Check this out. This is so cool. So sheriff tells me to come to the jail. I go to the jail. He says, all right, man, I want you to get up here and speak to the men. I'm in a men's group. It's like 70 guys in there.
Yeah.
And I get up to speak. And as I stand up to speak, sitting in front of me was David Stump.
Wow.
20 years later. And God said to me, he got away from you, but he's never gotten away from me.
Wow.
He's like, here's your chance. Make it right. And I was like, oh my gosh, David Stump. And he looked at me and says, oh my gosh, Mr. Coach Hughes.
Yeah.
And then I literally told the story, what I just told just now. I literally told the story right there in front of the whole group about him.
That's the only thing
that
you can
you're
say.
the one
Yeah.
that got away. And I was like, and I want you to know that God is telling me right now that you've never gotten away from him.
Mm.
And so he ends up giving his life to Christ. He gets baptized. Unfortunately, David passed away of a heroin overdose. And I've always told people, look, he lost his battle with addiction, but he didn't lose his battle for his soul.
Yeah.
And I got a great picture of him and I at the chapel about 3 weeks before he passed away.
Oh man.
And but I wanted to share that story because it kind of took me back. That's kind of like how I got into detention. I mean, it wasn't really something I was looking for. It was somewhere God placed me.
Yeah.
And and that's what I did for the next 20 years.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah. But that's how none of that can be, as Pastor Brandon was speaking about a couple of weeks ago. It just so happens.
Yeah, right.
Or it's just a coincidence.
It's all by design.
Come on.
Yeah.
You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah.
And so God gave me that second opportunity with David.
That's awesome. Did you tell that story at the chapel before?
I don't believe I have.
No? Okay.
No.
I think I've seen that picture though.
Yeah, there's a picture of me and him. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of, do you keep any sort of track of like number of people that have come through Try Hope?
Yeah, that's a lot.
How many people do you think?
Wow.
Through what you've been doing, like 20 years of this?
Yeah, wow.
I mean, well, there's the whole before, but then there's the when you went all in 17. But
right.
You've been doing this forever, man.
Right.
You got a lot of lives.
Yeah,
impacted.
I would say that since 2017, I was keeping up with. I mean, I still keep up with like how many people are coming to the jail groups, church on Sundays, Wednesdays, Bible study. How many people are? I get close. It's not a perfect number, but I can count in my head. Oh, there's 53 people here today for chapel. So I write all that down. Statistics. It's good to keep statistics.
Yeah.
I used to keep how many phone calls I would get, and I stopped doing that because it was like it was getting borderline ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I remember it, and I haven't done this in a while, but I think I was having about 1,000 to 1,200 contacts a month, like physically.
Wow.
Like, whether it's phone, Bible study. Wendy, my wife, I couldn't do any of this without her. Wendy is you want to talk about trailblazer.
Yeah.
She's a trailblazer.
That's something that I've definitely observed. I've learned this through observation for the past several years is anytime a man is running a very impactful ministry, you absolutely know without a doubt he's got an incredible wife.
Incredible.
Right? Otherwise, it would not be an incredible ministry. Right? You could do this, but it would be like disorganized. It would be in shambles.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a lot of effort and churn but like when a married couple is like synced up and firing on all cylinders, that's when you see ministries like this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you take her and the classes that she does, we have a lot of contacts, but,
so you guys then started, and this was kind of like right when we met, this was like right when this was like the new conversation with you as you were starting to do recovery houses,
right?
Starting to buy houses and fill them with beds and put people who were coming out of jail into these recovery houses. Right. Where's that at now? How's that going?
Well, we have 3 houses now.
Okay.
And we got a 1 girl's house and we have 2 guys' houses. If I had 10 houses, I could fill them. But I'm so grateful for God in that there's again, this is Wendy, managed growth, right?
Right.
I mean, so we have 3 houses now. We would like to open up another girl's house because there's such a high demand for it. So we started that back in 2021 is when we opened up the first house. And you can't go into the jail and say, hey, be warm and fed.
Yeah.
And then they leave,
Only
and it's
when
just
you're
like,
here.
okay, well, so it was like, okay, well, and we started getting a lot of requests, like, why don't y'all open up a house?
Yeah.
And so it was just like, yeah, why don't we open up a house? Let's step into that. And what does that look like?
Is Tri-Hope in any other jails? Or
Well, so
just Chesterfield?
right, so Tri-Hope is specifically in the Chesterfield County Jail.
Okay.
However, because we started streaming into the Chesterfield County Jail,
Mm-hmm.
some people saw that, and then the next thing you know, I got a phone call, and Jason from Chapel downtown, we were asked to come to DOC. Wow. And we were like, okay, what's this all about? So we go up there, and they were like, hey, we want you to start streaming into the prisons.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, that'd be easy. Just YouTube it. And they were like, no. There's no YouTube, and we don't have internet inside the prisons. We're going to need y'all to make a disc and send them to us every week. And so what happened is we then started live streaming Chapel into every state prison in the state of Virginia.
Wow.
Every week a disc goes out of the sermons. And so because of that, Chapel has had to kind of build a team that, Jason has kind of been overseeing. And so what's been happening is we've kind of built this team. And so now we're going into the prisons. So I go to Coffeewood once a month, every second Sunday of the month. I go to Coffeewood. We just got into Greensville. So I've been to Greensville. And so the doors are starting to open up to other places.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
One more question for you. What is the word, because you call it Tri-Hope, how would you describe the word hope, and why did you choose that word to call the organization?
Yeah. Helping other people eternally is, the acronym, I guess. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
So, helping other people eternally.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was an acronym.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I guess we can put a lot of hope in a lot of different things, right? But at the end of the day, there might be a lot of people that don't come to Tri-Hope or Tri-Home.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't mean that they can't make a decision for Christ. So, I mean, especially like in the prisons, they might return home to Roanoke. They'll never step foot in a chapel or a Tri-Home, or they might not ever get involved in a men's alliance group in this area. Maybe they could get one involved in Roanoke. But I guess for me, that's what it was. It was like trying to give people this hope that it's not going to be just temporarily, but it's going to be for you eternally.
Right.
That you have this hope in Jesus Christ that's going to last you for eternity.
Right.
And you just start wrapping your mind around eternity.
Yeah.
It just doesn't end.
Yeah.
And so that's where, we can put our hope in a lot of things, but ultimately that's where you need to put your hope.
Right.
Man, I'm just thinking about you at Monacan, and somebody walking down the hall saying to you, hey, did you hear about that position open up at the juvenile detention center?
Right.
And look at God crossed that person into your path that day and put your entire life on a different trajectory where you've spent, decades changing lives in and around and outside of jails and prisons. And I see like an obvious piece of it too is like you were the right guy to go into a juvenile detention center, right? You're a football coach.
Right.
Right. That's exactly what those, young boys needed. Right. Is that kind of a male role model. Right. I think, we talk a lot about, the problems with, manhood in America, and, everybody knows all the problems, lack of fathers and all those things. But one of the things I've always thought about, and you and I have discussed, is football coaches in America fulfill a very unique role, right? Like America is a country that has no rite of passage. The lines between boyhood and manhood are largely blurred, and we got all these absent fathers, but football coaches fill a very unique role for so many young men. Like the only positive male role model they might have ever had in their life was their high school football coach.
Right.
And I think that's a cool thing, how back to our conversation earlier about being savage, is God needs a lot of savage football coaches in this country, and he's going to pick them up, and he's going to plant them in juvenile detention centers and in county jails. And you're bringing that way that a football coach talks to a guy, that his teacher's not going to talk to him that way, and his mom's not going to talk to him that way, and his social worker isn't going to talk to him that way, right? But that dude is, and like, I think one of the things I hope guys listening to this podcast think about, like, is like, what am I called to do like that? Yeah. Like, what's my thing like that? It might not be the same. It might be totally different, but however God's wired a guy is for a reason. Right. Like, he's wired us the way he has for very specific purposes. And I think when we pay attention to that, and we're like, what do I feel passionate about? What do I feel called to do, right? Like you going into a juvenile detention center and inspiring all these young guys with goal setting and them seeing you go accomplish an Ironman, right? And I know, like, man, they're still talking about that years later. That changes lives, right? And I love thinking about how God's got something like that for all of us, right? Like Ephesians 2:10 tells us that God has pre-planned good works for all of us to do, like before we were born. And we, like, as we live, we discover what those are, and what he's got for us.
Right. And I would encourage all the men and women that are listening to this, but I would really encourage the men. Listen, like, I ran from it. Don't run from it. Like, if you feel a passion, I feel like a lot of men, and this is me, I'm talking to me. I think one of the tricks that the devil uses is he gets us comfortable and we have success. And so you're thinking, man, my success equates to this is God's will because I'm being successful.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This has got to be it. Because look at me, I'm successful. Look, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
But are you being bamboozled?
Yeah.
Or is that your distraction? Is that keeping you?
Yeah.
Because
are your fingers on all those doorknobs?
Correct. And so no. So right on.
Sorry.
And so, like, there might be something that we should be doing, but we're not doing it because, well, we think, oh, I'm living it out. Look at me. But no. I mean, and that was me.
I think a reason why I ran for a long time was I thought that, like, the Christian life or the ministry or whatever you want to call it, I thought that would be, like, boring.
Yeah.
Right.
And lame. And I wanted excitement. And then you realize, like, that was a total lie. It's the exact opposite.
It's the
like
complete opposite.
Like, I guarantee you've got better stories and more stories.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the work you've done. And I know the same is true for me. I've got better stories from Men's Alliance than I do from being in the military.
Yeah.
Right? Being in the military was boring compared to Men's Alliance.
Right.
Like, this is incredible.
Yeah, you're making me. So while you were talking about coaches, I was literally flashing back to one year I was at the detention home, and there was this kid in there. His name was Marcus West. And he was, an athlete. And I was like, man, bro, like, what are you doing in here? He's like, I just get in trouble. And, I was like, man, you need to be playing football. Yeah. And I was like, where do you go to school? He says, Elsie Bird. And I said, oh, gosh, all the places you could go to school was Elsie Bird because I'm coaching at Monacan. Mm-hmm. I'm coaching football. And I was like, man, bro, you still need to be playing football. You got to get out of here. You got to get some goals, man. So we go to play Bird, and I'm standing at midfield. The game, we're warming up, and here comes Marcus West in a Bird uniform, number 43. And he grabs me, he picks me up, and he starts hugging me. He's like, Coach Hughes, my man, you're my man. He said, I'm here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's great, Marcus. And he's just like, man, you told me to do it, man, and I'm out here playing. I was like, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So the game starts, and all you hear for the next 2 hours, tackle by Marcus West, fumble recovery by Marcus West, right? It was on and on and on. And I'm standing and the head coach goes, Hughes, you know this kid? And I was like, yeah. He's like, tell me you didn't talk him into going to play football at the detention home. I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, Hughes, you got to stop that. But to your point, I think, that's what you make a good point. Like us as men, we need to find it in us. Like what God has given us a passion. He's wired us a certain way. Find it, embrace it, and then step into it, and listen, again, make it clear. I ran from it. Mm-hmm. And so I can say that now looking back on it, but wow, I really wish I could have done it 5 years earlier, but it was part of the process, and it all worked out the way it worked out.
Yeah. Man. So. And to your point, talking about boring life, Bible says Christ has come to give you life, but not just life more abundant. That's good. Mm-hmm. Some people think that means money or whatever. Maybe it does to some people, but abundance of adventure, abundance of heartache, abundance of, awesome memories, abundance of all kinds of things, and
just think about like us doing Carry the Fires.
Right.
That's something we talk about a lot, man. Yeah. Like every time we put on a Carry the Fire, it blows us away. Right. And it's more, and we're always sitting around the fire at Men's Alliance being like, I can't believe that doing men's ministry is this fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like this miserable thing. God doesn't want you to be miserable.
Right.
Right. Like we're sitting around a fire, smoking cigars, eating steak, and changing lives.
Right.
And men are like, one of the things we hear a lot in Carry the Fire specifically is we hear men say, I've been a Christian for 30 years. How come I've never heard this? And stuff like that. And when a guy says that to you, this is the sweet spot. It's like hitting the ball on the sweet spot of the bat, right? You're like, I'm right where God wants me to be, doing exactly what he wants me to do. And it is fun.
Right.
And it is more abundant. And it's more exciting.
Yeah.
And it's all those things when you're all in for Christ.
Right. Because you can have all those things without Christ, but it's just going to be so empty, It won't have the same meaning. And, you can go through heartache, but I'd rather go through heartache with Jesus by my side than with nobody,
Right.
And same with sometimes it's fun to do an adventure by yourself, but then the whole time you're wishing, I wish so-and-so was here so they could experience this. And that's why we have Christ, he's right there with you and your brothers in ministry, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Joel, man, thanks so much for being here.
No, truly
thanks for
my
your
pleasure.
time. We've been wanting to make this podcast happen for a long time.
Yeah, it's good.
Finally got it.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for letting me come. Thank y'all for what y'all do in the jail. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And again, it's that's the church. It's the body of Christ.
What's next for you? You got anything like that your work are you just chugging along?
Yeah, so my wife and I and Beth Scalera.
Yeah.
Y'all know Beth Scalera?
Oh, yeah.
Come on. What a boss.
Yeah.
Her and Wendy and I sat down and wrote a book. And it's called Raised. And it's the goal setting lesson.
Yeah.
But with God, with when I was
Is it
doing
out yet?
we're getting close.
Working on it. All
we're
right,
getting
man.
really close. But God, when I was in the detention home, I could do the goal setting lesson.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do the spiritual part of it because I was a public school teacher.
Yeah.
So it was when I left the detention home that I started doing the goal setting lessons at the jail, but I got to add the spiritual application to it. And so that book is being written and finishing up. I think that's our next step.
And if people want to like find out more about Try Hope or support you guys in any way, how could they do that?
Yes, it's Try Hope, TRI-hope.org.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
Go there and
Great. We'll put that in the show notes.
Sweet.
love it. Thank you
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks,
man.
Joel.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
To find out more about what we are doing in Men's Alliance, go to men'salliancetribe.com. This will help you find a tribe near you. We have grown so much over the past few years. There are thousands of tribesmen all over the country in hundreds of tribes. We're growing every single week. Go to men'salliancetribe.com, find a tribe near you, or maybe you're the man to start one in your area.